Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Hilarious Gaming Stories. So we're going to keep going down the UO rabbit hole here. UO was a bizarre game. It really was. It was ahead of its time for a bit, but it was a really bizarre game. And I think the most bizarre point of that game was the creator. I mean, this guy's an asshole. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. Richard Garriott is an asshole. Plain and simple. So he invited all these people to do the alpha test and do the beta test. And at the beta test, he sent out this notice. Everyone's to come to Britannia and gather for a final event. Okay. So we get to Britannia. And we all crowd in, and I don't know how many. The lag was horrendous, which I covered in the last video, and there were people everywhere, and nobody could move. And what does this asshole do? He starts summoning in daemons. Daemons and dragons were the most powerful creatures in Ultima Online at this point. And he starts summoning in hundreds of daemons and kills every last beta tester. Just splut. All dead. And he just keeps summoning them in, and the daemons overtake the world, and that's the end of the beta test. Yeah. F you, buddy. You know, after all the time you put in, this is how you're sent out. You know, you're going there thinking, I'm going to get a thank you at the least. Maybe, you know, I'm going to get a credit for when retail starts, like I can get a sword or, you know, some magic item or something says I beta tested this game. Nope. We got slaughtered. That was our reward. Everybody in the game got slaughtered. Just a giant middle finger from Richard Garriott at everybody that helped him alpha test and beta test this game. It's just like, yeah. But you know what? I shouldn't have been surprised. I really shouldn't have, because there was actually an earlier event during the beta. Some very ingenious player. Now, I don't quite know what he did. But Richard Garriott played his character, I think it was called Blackthorn was the name. It's been so many years, I forget the name. And anyway, they were in Britannia, and he was really quite an arrogant SOB personality. Like, not the character. Garriott was an SOB. And they were doing some sort of event. I heard about this secondhand. I actually wasn't there for this. I heard about this. And some player, very ingenious player, figured out, because exploiting and hacking in Ultima Online from day one was a real problem. And Blackthorn was supposed to be invincible. Well, this player figured out how to basically hack Blackthorn. And he stole some items from Blackthorn, and then he killed Blackthorn. And Garriott was angry. Oh, he was angry. And he wiped out every player in the city that was present for this happening. Like I said, I wasn't online at the time. I heard about this after the fact. But he threw a massive tantrum, and he killed every single beta tester and alpha tester. I can't remember if this was the alpha test or the beta test, but he killed every single player that had come to Britannia on his beckoning, because this one player had figured out how to exploit the game and got the better of him. And he was so angry, and he threw a tantrum. And there was actually some talk on the online forums that this may have killed Ultima Online. It didn't. But that was the conversation going around, because these players were not happy. They walked in, and he just started slaughtering them. Just started slaughtering them at random. No quarter given, no ifs, ands, or buts, just blah. And when you died in Ultima Online, you reappeared as a ghost, but your body was there and all your goods were there. So you had to go get resurrected somewhere as a ghost, and you'd be naked. All your goods that you had gathered were still on your body where you died, but you couldn't go back there, because if you went back there, Richard Garriott would kill you again. I don't know. To me, it was the epitome of a poor sport. I don't approve of hacking. I don't approve of exploiting, but that's what a beta test is. It's up to the players to push the limits, figure out where the weaknesses, the exploits are, so that the programmers can find these and patch them. Like that in the early days anyway, that was the whole reason for a beta test. Stress test the servers, find the exploits, find the bugs, report them so that they could get fixed before release. I know that's not what a beta test is anymore. Like, if you did SWTOR beta tests, they didn't give a crap about bugs. They really didn't. They used, and Rift for the same thing. They used the beta test as a means to sell the game. That's what it was. But in the early days, the beta tests were they were about finding bugs, finding exploits, and then you report them and they get fixed. And then also stress testing the servers because, like I said, lag was horrible. But yeah, when Garriott got showing up that day, he threw a massive tantrum of epic proportions. He just, he was in God mode because, an exploit in itself. And he just started slaughtering every player around him. Kill everybody. No rhyme or reason. And so I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. That was the thank you we got for finishing the Ultima Online beta test for him. But, and they uploaded pictures of the world being overtaken by daemons. But it was like, I don't know. I always found it kind of tacky, if I'm being honest. It's like, these players, especially back then, like computers back then were so much more expensive than they are nowadays. Like, I know they're thousands of dollars now, but back then they were like, I was recently in a local computer store. I was buying a Wi-Fi adapter booster for my computer, and there's a kid ordering a I think it was a 5080 video card. And I made the comment, I go, somebody's a gamer. And he's like a 18, 19-year-old kid with his mother. And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I remember back when I was gaming, like my first Pentium, and you see his eyes get big. It's like, wow, you're old. Yeah, thanks. And anyway, I was buying a 256 meg RAM chip. Meg, not gig, meg RAM chip for $475. And he's just like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, this was back in the early 90s. $475 in the early 90s is like, what, $700 nowadays, $800 nowadays? I don't know what the exchange rate, but it's around there. So, like, the prices back then were really inflated. And so these players playing on this beta test for them, they paid for their computers, they paid for their RAM, they paid for their internet. Internet access was not cheap either. It was like, I'm pretty sure I had a 14.4, and I think I was paying about $25, $30 a month back in the early 90s. Or no, this would have been the late 90s for UO. It would have been I think in 97 or 98, but still, you get the picture. So yeah, I don't know. I always found it kind of tacky of Garriott, and I got to admit, I've held a grudge against him ever since. I did play Ultima Online retail, and I'll be going into some of those stories, but I don't like that guy. Don't like that guy. Don't think I'll ever like that guy. Never supported any other game. I was thrilled that his future endeavors always failed. You know, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Anyway, not so much well, I guess it was a funny story up until I kind of ranted about Garriott there. But yeah, so anyway, that's my video for the day. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel. A like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. It takes 1 second to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button below. It's absolutely free, costs you nothing. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.